Hello, hello, boys and girls. Chip was there first. Nice. Lance, hello, sir. Sammy, I don't know Sammy. I'd like to meet Sammy sometime. And I think Cherry is from Miss Maka's class. Okay, so we'll wait another minute for other people to join us. Hey, James. And while we're waiting, we'll do a recap. So a recap is when we just talk about the previous chapters that were read so that we kind of remind ourselves what happened. So in chapter 10, the foxes went into Bogus's chicken house number 1, and it was really exciting because they got some food and they were feeling really good about making a big feast, which it can be a really fun time. And Mrs. Fox, so she started feeling a lot better because she was really tired and hungry. So the chickens definitely cheered her up. So that's awesome. And then at the end of chapter 11, the Mr. Fox and his little kids were ready to go somewhere else. And the kids said, "To where, Dad?" And he said, "Don't ask so many questions. Start digging." So as Mr. Dave likes to say, just more digging all the time, always digging. Okay, so I think we're ready to begin with chapter number 12. So let me just minimize my screen a little bit here so I can still see the conversation that's happening. Okay, chapter number 12 is called Badger. So Mr. Fox and the 3 remaining small foxes dug fast and straight. They were all too excited now to feel tired or hungry. They knew they were going to have a whacking great feast before long, and the fact that it was none other than Bogus's chickens they were going to eat made them chortle with laughter every time they thought of it. It was lovely to realize that while the fat farmer was sitting up there on the hill waiting for them to starve, he was also giving them their dinner without knowing it. "Keep digging," said Mr. Fox. "It's not much further." All of a sudden, a deep voice above their heads said, "Who goes there?" The foxes jumped. They looked up quickly, and they saw, peeking through a small hole in the roof of the tunnel, a long, black, pointed, furry face. "Badger?" cried Fox. "Foxy?" cried Badger. "My goodness me! I'm glad I found someone at last. I've been digging around in the circles for 3 days and 3 nights, and I haven't the foggiest idea where I am." Badger made the hole in the ceiling bigger and dropped down beside the foxes. A small badger, his son, dropped down after him. "Haven't you heard what's happening up on the hill?" Badger said excitedly. "It's chaos. Half the wood has disappeared, and there are men with guns all over the countryside. None of us can get out, even at night. We're all starving to death." "Who is we?" asked Mr. Fox. "All us diggers. That's me and Mole and Rabbit and all our wives and children. Even Weasel, who can usually sneak out of the tightest spots, is right now hiding down in my hole with Mrs. Weasel and 6 kids. What on earth are we going to do, Foxy? I think we're finished." Mr. Fox looked at his 3 children, and he smiled. The children smiled back at him, sharing his secret. "My dear old Badger," he said, "this mess you're all in is my fault." "I know it's your fault," said Badger furiously, "and the farmers are not going to give up till they've got you. Unfortunately, that means us as well. It means everyone on the hill. Badger sat down and put a paw around his small son. "We're done for," he said softly. "My poor wife up there is so weak, she can't dig another yard." "Nor can mine," said Mr. Fox. "And yet at this very minute she is preparing for me and my children the most delicious feast of plump, juicy chickens." "Stop!" cried Badger. "Don't tease me. I can't stand it." "It's true," cried the small foxes. "Dad's not teasing. We've got chickens galore." "And because everything is entirely my fault," said Mr. Fox, "I invite you to share the feast. I invite everyone to share it. You and Mole and Rabbit and Weasel and all your wives and all your children. There'll be plenty to go around, I can assure you." "You mean it?" cried Badger. "You really mean it?" Mr. Fox pushed his face close to Badger's and whispered, "Do you know where we've just been?" "Where?" "Right inside Boggis's chicken house #1. "No." "Yes. But that is nothing to where we are going now. You have come just at the right moment, my dear Badger. You can help us dig. And in the meanwhile, your small son can run back to Mrs. Badger and all the others and spread the good news." Mr. Fox turned to the small badger and said, "Tell them they are invited to a fox's feast. Then bring them all down here and follow this tunnel back until you find my home." "Yes, Mr. Fox," said the small badger. "Yes, sir, right away, sir. Oh, thank you, sir." And he scrambled quickly back through the hole in the roof of the tunnel and disappeared. Yes, Plum, Badger, evil. Okay, chapter number 13. I don't know where they're going. Where do you think they're going next? So before they go back to Mr. Fox's house for the feast, where could they go? What could they collect or gather before they go back for the feast? Do they need anything else for the feast? Chapter 13, Bunce's Giant Storehouse. Does anybody know what a storehouse is? What is a storehouse? Maybe you've never seen that word before. So storehouse is where you keep a lot of food and maybe other supplies too. It could be water, could be things to drink, but also it could be tools. Storehouse might also have some tools in it, but usually they go in the shed. But the storehouse might have some of that, but usually it's food and things to drink. Okay, so "My dear Foxy," cried Badger, "what in the world has happened to your tail?" "Don't talk about it, please," said Mr. Fox. "It's a painful subject." They were digging the new tunnel. They dug on in silence. Badger was a great digger, and the tunnel went forward at a terrific pace now that he was lending a paw. Soon they were crouching underneath yet another wooden floor. Mr. Fox grinned slyly, showing sharp white teeth. "If I am not mistaken, my dear Badger," he said, "we are now underneath the farm which belongs to that nasty little pot-bellied dwarf, Bunce. We are, in fact, directly underneath the most interesting part of that farm." "Ducks and geese?" cried the small foxes, licking their lips. "Juicy, tender ducks and big, fat geese?" "Exactly," said Mr. Fox. "But how in the world can you know where we are?" asked Badger. Mr. Fox grinned again, showing even more white teeth. "Look," he said, I know my way around these farms blindfolded. For me, it's just as easy below ground as it is above it." He reached high and pushed up one wooden floorboard, then another. He poked his head through the gap. "Yes," he shouted, jumping up into the room above. "I've done it again. I've hit it smack on the nose, right in the bullseye. Come and look." Quickly, Badger and the three small foxes scrambled up after him. They stopped and stared. They stood and gaped. They were so overwhelmed they couldn't speak. For what they now saw was a kind of fox's dream, a badger's dream, a paradise for hungry animals. "This, my dear old badger," proclaimed Mr. Fox, "is Bunce's mighty storehouse. All his finest stuff is stored in here before he sends it off to market. Against all the four walls of the great room, stacked in cupboards and piled upon shelves reaching from floor to ceiling, were thousands and thousands of the finest and fattest ducks and geese, plucked and ready for roasting. And up above, dangling from the rafters, there must have been at least 100 smoked hams and 50 sides of bacon. Just feast your eyes on that," cried Mr. Fox, dancing up and down. "What do you think of it, eh? Pretty good grub." Suddenly, as though springs had been released in their legs, the three hungry small foxes and the very hungry badger sprang forward to grab the luscious food. "Stop," ordered Mr. Fox. "This is my party, so I shall do the choosing." The others fell back, licking their chops. Mr. Fox began prowling around the storehouse, examining the glorious display with an expert eye. A thread of saliva slid down one side of his jaw and hung suspended in midair, then snapped. "We mustn't overdo it," he said. "Mustn't give the game away. Mustn't let them know." So mustn't is like must not. "Mustn't let them know what we've been up to. We must be neat and tidy and take just a few of the choicest morsels. So to start with, we shall have 4 plump young ducks." He took them from the shelf. "Oh, how lovely and fat they are! No wonder Bunce gets a special price for them in the market. All right, Badger, lend me a hand to get them down. You children can help as well. There we go." Must not. So there we go. Goodness me, look how your mouths are watering. And now I think we had better have a few geese. 3 will be quite enough. We'll take the biggest. Oh my, oh my. You'll never see finer geese than these in a king's kitchen. Gently does it. That's the way. And what about a couple of nice smoked hams? I adore smoked ham. Don't you, Badger? Fetch me that stepladder, will you please? Mr. Fox climbed up the ladder and handed down 3 magnificent hams. And do you like bacon, Badger? I'm mad about bacon, cried Badger, dancing with excitement. Let's have a side of bacon, that big one up there. And carrots, Dad, said the smallest of the 3 small foxes. We must take some of those carrots. Don't be silly, said Mr. Fox. You know we never eat things like that. It's not for us, Dad. It's for the rabbits. They only eat vegetables. My goodness me, you're right, cried Mr. Fox. What a thoughtful little fellow you are. Take 10 bunches of carrots. Soon, all this lovely loot was lying in a neat heap upon the floor. The small foxes crouched close, their noses twitching. That means your nose is moving. Their eyes shining like stars. And now, said Mr. Fox, we shall have to borrow from our friend Bunce 2 of those useful push carts over in the corner. He and Badger fetched the push carts, and the ducks and geese and hams and bacon were loaded onto them. Quickly, the push carts were lowered through the hole in the floor. The animals slid down after them. Back in the tunnel, Mr. Fox again pulled the floorboards very carefully into place so that no one could see they had been moved. My darlings, he said, pointing to 2 of the 3 small foxes, take a cart each and run back as fast as you can to your mother. Give her my love and tell her we are having guests for dinner. The badgers, the moles, the rabbits, and the weasels. Tell her it must be a truly great feast, and tell her the rest of us will be home as soon as we've done one more little job. Yes, Dad, right away, Dad, they answered, and they grabbed a trolley each and went rushing off down the tunnel. Fox has one more job to do. Chapter 14. We will not be reading it today, but it is called Badger Has Doubts. What does that mean? Doubts. Does anybody know what that word means? Doubt or doubts. What does it mean when you doubt something? I think it means you really believe in something, right? Like you really believe that something's going to happen? Oh, doesn't believe. Yes, James, you're right. My memory is not as good as it was when I was your age. So yeah, to doubt something is when you're not sure it's going to happen, or you're not sure that it's true. Just something about you is just like, I don't know. I don't know if that can happen. I'm not sure about that. It's like if I say, I can run up those stairs. I can run up those stairs, all 100 stairs in 5 seconds. You'd probably say, I doubt you can do that. So you would probably say, I don't believe that you can do that. I have a lot of doubt in you running up 100 stairs in 5 seconds. No way. Okay, so that is the name for chapter 14. Badger has doubts. So what do you think that Badger could have doubts about? Oh, impossible. Yeah, 100 stairs in 5 seconds. You're right, James. That is impossible. Unless maybe it's in a video game. Oh, Jolie, how long did it take you to prepare that? Okay. All right, you guys have a great day. Enjoy your day. I'll show that for you, Jolie, but I don't want anybody else doing that. Nobody else do that, but Jolie, that is kind of beautiful with all the different emoticons. Emoticons. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye.